why you're here. Maybe if you can share with us the journey as to how you started working with Globe, how they were able to get in touch with you, and what was the initial expectation when they were telling you that we plan to open an iconic store.
Well, I think the first contact I had with Globe was meeting Maridol in Singapore. She was there. I was speaking at the World Retail Festival event, and she came up after the presentation, and we had some initial discussions, talked a little bit about what Globe was thinking about, and then she invited me actually to come here and meet Ernest and get to know him and start to kind of understand what his vision for the project was to be.
So without revealing so much, because we always wanted to keep the design of the store a surprise, how would you describe your inspiration when you were designing the Gen 3 stores?
Yeah, I mean, I think that initially what made us very interested in the project was really the team of people that we met at the beginning of the project. It sounded like from the top all the way through everyone that we worked with, there was a desire to really make the next generation of retail, not just stores, but I think something important for people here in the Philippines. And so we started with, I think, pretty high level aspirations. The team described a lot of concepts. I guess I won't talk too much about the specifics of the concepts, but they described a lot of different qualities that they had seen, things that they were interested in, and I think it aligned pretty well with our approach to design in the sense that the focus is on the people who experience the space, what the relationship to the brand is, how we build more meaningful types of connections, and I think that's a lot different than putting some devices on a table. So for us, that was quite exciting.
In terms of the design process, would you be able to cite maybe one or two challenges that you encountered designing, or the journey to transforming a basic retail store into something different, far from what a telco store would most probably look like?
Yeah. I mean, I think in most cases like this, the biggest challenges are in transforming the way you've done things in the past to doing new things, and a lot of times it means shifting the priorities, shifting the focus, being able to think a little bit differently about the way people interact in the space. I think that what was great is that the team was pushing us all the time to go as far as we felt comfortable going in doing that, and so I think it's interesting because it really does start to pose in a way more meaningful questions to people. What is technology doing? What's the role of technology in their lives? What do we do with the fact that technology is changing every day? How do we keep up, and what do we do with complexity and anxiety and all the kind of emotional parts that are connected to that? And I think there's also a big desire to build more emotion into the experience, make it more exciting, make it more fun, make it more personal. All the things that putting an object on the table doesn't really fully deliver. So I think it's moving beyond just products and services and starting to understand what is the potential, what are people doing.
Hi, Jane, Ron, you have any questions?
Yeah. Loud and clear?
Yes.
I sort of lost the picture. Okay, there we go. I don't have any picture. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have one question for Tim, and that is I noticed how you were able to beautifully blend the Philippine culture using the sorry.
Jane, hold on. Say it again, Joe.
All right. I just wanted to ask, uh, because I saw how there was a blend of Philippine culture, and so I just wanted to find out from Tim just how much of, how he came about including or blending the Philippine culture with his own concept of what a Globe Gen 3 store should look like.
Yeah, I think we obviously wanted to make sure that we were aware of the kinds of values that exist today in terms of the Philippine community. But I think what was important is that we wanted to focus the conversation directly to people, and so that means that the types of stories and the types of interactions that people have in the space are built around things that happen in the Philippines, things that are concerned that Philippine technology users encounter, things that are exciting and interesting. And so I think it wasn't as critical to define the culture within that as to provide a format for the culture to define itself within. So in a way, it's giving the store to the users, and the stories that come out of the community of experiences are essentially highlighted within that environment. So I think that's something that I hope will be something pretty dynamic, whether it's artists, whether it's filmmakers, whether it's writers and poets, whatever it may be. People are using the technology to create.
Thank you.
We have another question. Just type in. What's your inspiration in doing the transformation of the Blue Gen store? And sort of what's the thought process behind it?
In terms of the inspiration, yeah, I think that one of the key aspects of this, it was in the brief, was to make a space that was dynamic. It had to be able to change. It had to be able to do a lot of different things, and really our focus on creating compelling experience is something that we've seen with different clients and with different projects, that if we can do that in a way that engages people, it ends up being successful. And so the biggest challenge was to find something that would work here within the context of what traditional telcos used to be like this. We want to be something different, and so the challenge of being different within that category, and being able to find inspiration from opportunities from that.
Ron, Mike, other questions? Can you hear me?
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, anybody.
Okay. I saw the list of clients that you had on your website, and they're pretty impressive. How small would you go in terms of accepting clients? Because a lot of your clients, including Globe, are sort of up there. But do you have small clients, and how would you approach them versus, let's say, clients like Globe?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, we have benefited from working for big clients, but it's also been something that's been a challenge because people think that we only work with big clients. But some of our best projects have actually been with very small. Actually, in San Francisco, one of our early retail projects was with a woman from the Philippines who had a glass shop, and she sold just simple glass articles, and had a very low budget and very small space. But it turned out to be a project that won lots of awards, and we had a lot of success came out of it, and it was very satisfying for us to help her become a presence in the community. Now I think she's on the board of the Museum of Modern Art. But it was something where the challenge and the interest that we had in the project wasn't because it was a big notable company, that it was something that the project was interesting. So we work with lots of different scale projects. I think we tend to get a lot of work in retail because of the work we've done with Apple, and in a way that's kind of a curse because we also do other things. And so anyway, I think it's important for us to kind of keep a balance.
That's good.
Does that answer your question?
Jane?
Sure, yes. Yeah, just a follow-up question. Have you ever worked with organizations that, I don't know, that would require design, but with a different angle, which would be advocacy?
Sorry, which would be what?
Advocacy. Advocacies.
A good example is a project we just completed for a company called Donors Choose. They're a nonprofit based in New York. We just did their offices, and what was great about that project is the business is set up to have people basically donate money for things that teachers request to help them educate the students. And we thought it was a very cool concept, and we got people involved in it. So being able to help create those offices for them was something that we wanted to do because it was a good thing to do. We did it pro bono, and I guess it was a success because they asked us to do a second one in San Francisco. But when I was there touring the office with the CEO the other day, he was so happy to have a space that he felt really captured, what they were about. And he was telling me he thinks it leads to longer retention of employees, and it's had great impact on their fundraising and a lot of things. So in terms of just building an advocate for a brand and being able to apply that to an entity that's not a corporation, is something that is quite satisfying for us and for a lot of people on the team.
Thank you. I think there are other people.
Yeah. One. What is the biggest? This is a question by Ron Villagontaro of Work at Home Finance. What is the biggest challenge you faced in implementing the vision for the store, specifically for Gen 3?
For Gen 3. Well, I think we're still in the process of getting there, so I don't know if we've faced the biggest challenge yet. But I think we have a portion of the project that's quite interesting. Another piece of it that's coming, and that has been the biggest challenge in terms of getting approvals and getting a lot of buy-in, because I think it's probably it will end up being the most worthy and end up being probably the highest profile project. But in a way, it hasn't been more difficult really than any other big projects that we've worked on. There's specific challenges to it, but I would say that the more you try to push what people are comfortable with or what the norm is, that's where you encounter the most resistance. But so far we've had great support both internally and within the community with what we're proposing. So I think something that people are excited about.
Another question. What will be the big changes in Group Gen 3 as compared to the Gen 2, the one that we Gen 2, in terms of the process for the usual process in telco, bill payments, on-the-spot inquiries? What is the change in terms of experience?
Yeah, well, I think hopefully what people come away with Gen 3 is that they've had an experience that gives them a much broader perspective on technology and what they can do. So it's less, I think telcos in particular have this this perception that they're almost like a utility company. You're going there to pay your water bill and figure out what's wrong and sort these things out. And I think that it's a really it's a functional brand ideal. It's based on a very functional kind of thing. And what we've tried to do is to add the idea of aspiration to this element. So, if you look at coming in and getting your sort of tactical things serviced, your accounts and things like that, we need to make that easier and faster and more accessible. And all of these things that are pain points for people who think about it from a utility perspective. But I think more importantly, being able to create aspiration to attract people to it because it's interesting to be there, that you learn new things, that there are fun things going on all the time. And by the way, the things that support that are a bit more in the background. So I think, that to me, that's a big shift from a telco type of a traditional experience.
Okay. Wow, we actually have full call. These are all the participants. Others are complaining that they can't join anymore. Okay. But they're sending in their questions. Yes. What is your timeline for Gen 3 execution? This is a question by Mike Soon, mixofeverything.net. Well, we're opening in December.
Yeah, the first projects will open
says, hi, Tim.
In December. Hi, Mike. The first projects will open in December. It's part of obviously a transition and a rollout program. Some of the initial flagships will be the first ones open, but there will be some other things coming. And so I think that we're excited to get the first basically the first pilots out there. And hopefully much smoother and be
if there's one word that you'd be able to describe the new Globe Gen 3, for you, what would it be?
One word?
One word.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I keep coming back to probably where the brand will be positioned here in the Philippines. And to me, the kind of the thread that's been going through this is around leadership. It's around the ideas that have fed into this, and hopefully what becomes the perspective of the Globe brand in the market. That I think being a leader in going beyond what the usual delivery of a telco company is, and starting to show people that there's great opportunities to do interesting things, to build more community, to have more dialogue, and be less sort of autocratic, not talking to the customers, but engaging with them. I think that's hopefully that's something that will demonstrate leadership to other categories, outside of just telco companies, but that it starts to become the way companies and people, start to interact. I think there's some really interesting opportunities around that if it works.
Have you designed other telco stores in other countries?
We've done some work for Vodafone in the UK out of our London office. We did, as you know, this is our 17th year with Apple, but we also worked with AT&T and some of the other carriers in the US who support the Apple shop and shops and the premium resellers and things like that. So,
how would you say Globe is different? How would you differentiate Globe Gen 3 from the other telco stores that you've designed?
I think the other ones were still pretty much in the old model, which is putting the devices out there, telling you a little bit about the price and the features and benefit plans, and pretty cool. Again, I think that's kind of a baseline, but being able to build on top of that, I don't think that anyone has really pushed that really far. I mean, I think the work with Apple that we've done, has been very successful for the business. It's been a lot of people love the experience, and I think that even that can be pushed further. But given that we designed the stores really years ago at this point, Gen 3 is an opportunity for us to apply, I think, more current thinking, better understanding of psychology of people, better understanding of the things that motivate and make people make people feel better. How do we make more happiness and well-being be the byproduct as opposed to functionality and productivity, and those are all kind of baseline things. How we want to kind of move up that scale a bit.
Okay, question for you. Hi guys, you have more questions? Oh, okay. Here in the Philippines, telcos have been combining social media features and apps very much into their offerings. How did this fit into your design for GlobeGem 3?
Yeah, actually, I think that the idea of media and content is a big piece of this. Being able to integrate applications, current things, all of that aspect of how people engage with the technology is a core piece of the space. So we have an opportunity for the people who come in and engage with the devices to be able to try different applications, to be able to learn about things. I think it starts to create a much more engaging kind of dialogue. So being able to try things, see recommendations, and to connect in a more live manner, both with people in the space and outside of the space. I think we're able to do things with technology today that we couldn't probably do 5 years ago.
Okay. Jane, is that okay?
Yes, I have one more.
Okay.
Do you want me to type it out or just say it out?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, if you'd allow me one question. In your designs, Tim, how much of ergonomics and green features go into it?
Ergonomics and what?
Green features.
Green,
features, yeah.
environment friendly, recycled.
Yeah, it's a big piece of what we do, both in terms of making sure that in retail you tend to use a lot of resources, and you put lots of stores in lots of places, and making sure that the materials are recyclable, that we're using things that don't contribute to a landfill, but actually can be put into a life cycle of reuse is very important. I'm not sure where we're going to end up on our ratings in terms of certifications there, but I think we're targeting pretty high. The other part of it was, sorry, the sustainability. What was the first part of the question?
Ergonomics.
Ergonomics. Yeah, I mean, the ergonomics as designers, I think, is a bit. It's part of the baseline. We have to make sure that we understand the physical attributes of the users, and that we're designing the heights of the tables and the regions and the interactions related to ergonomics as just a natural part of the design. We look at a lot of sections. We do mock-ups in our process in our office to make sure that the shorter people and the taller people and the longer people, whatever it may be, can work with the spaces that we're creating. Also, the lighting and lines of sights and visibility to technology, those types of things are very important. So making sure that it works together as a cohesive package is important.
Okay. We have another one by Mike again. Can you give us an idea of how these improvements will improve customer service long lines? And can you give us a percentage or a gauge on its efficiency or percentage improvement?
Yeah, I think in certain places it's really other telcos have set up essentially service points that if you design lines to be part of the system, people get to stand in lines, and it's not really what we would consider a customer-centric experience. So what we're trying to do is to distribute the interactions and the touch points through the space. And what it means is if you're waiting, there's other things to be doing besides sitting in line and feeling like you're wasting your time. We want people to engage more. We want to be able to have the service points come to them rather than to put the staff behind a counter and have everybody come to this queue. And I think that it means that we're sort of designing lines out of the experience. That being said, there'll be people who will have to wait at certain times, but when they are waiting, they should be able to be serviced at their convenience within the overall space, rather than going through a single sort of choke point.
Okay. Others? Any more questions? Any more questions? Jam, yes, all Globe stores will be upgraded to Gen 3. It's going to be a rollout.
Oh.
That's right? Yes,
Yes.
it will be. So we opened the first two by the end of the year. You are all invited on December 15th.
Yes,
Right.
December
And
15th.
I'll be
Tim will
there.
also be joining us
Yeah.
at the event. It will be a simultaneous opening for Manila and Cagayan de Oro. So what will be happening in both locations will be live cast,
Oh, cool.
so we can see each other. So a separate Globe team will also be flying to CDO to do the event there.
Me.
I just have a question. Maybe some of our bloggers who were not able to join would be curious to know how is it working with Steve Jobs?
How is it?
Yeah.
How was it?
How was it?
It's for us. It was probably the greatest, relationship we've had with a client. It's hard to remember back when he first came back to the company, but Apple was a pretty small company at that time, and when he came back, they had a 2% market share in the computer area. This was before iPads and iPhones and all of these things, and so really at that time we became it was a pretty intimate way of working. I mean, we met with him every week for 12 years. We went shopping and bought clothes for kids with him in Paris, and we went through sort of the highs and the lows, and because I think we were there when he first came back to the business. We just sort of became part of the family of Apple, and it's grown into a much larger company. But with him, he was incredibly demanding, and I think people took that the wrong way. A lot of people were sort of offended by his manner, and he was pretty harsh. But it was because he didn't have patience for wasting time. He was always concerned about driving things, and so we saw all sides of him. I think working with him in a time where he would stress this group and then stress this group and then stress this group and come back around. You see him stress the next group again, and he's sort of going through this cycle of making sure everybody's focused and everybody's engaged. And honestly, without being in that type of dynamic for a long period of time, I think a lot of the other work that we've done wouldn't have been as good. I think we learned as much from him probably as we contributed to design at Apple.
How was your journey in designing the iconic store in New York for Apple? What was your inspiration with a very innovative glass cube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that store, because it was really the first of the, that was the store that was going to tell the world that Apple had arrived. Mm-hmm. And I think that the inspiration actually came from Steve. Was always a fan of I.M. Pei's pyramid at the Louvre. Mm-hmm. And so when people first started to consider that space, and the GM building was basically selling a basement on Fifth Avenue, it wasn't the most appealing retail space in the world in terms of if you were to go out and try to say this is great retail space. But the idea of putting the store in a basement, that goes against most conventional wisdom of retail. Having it be where it was located was not right for everyone, but it turned out to be right for Apple. And the design of the space, the cube, when Steve left Apple the first time, he went away and worked on Next, and that was a a cube-shaped computer. When he came back to Apple later, there was a cube-shaped computer. You know, it was always a kind of underlying thing with him. But you know, when we first started working at Apple, we started to establish a kind of pure geometry in the events, because we started with the Macworld events, and so working with pure circles and pure squares and you know, more clean geometry was sort of becoming part of the definition of the brand. And I think coming to that location and having in the basement, you know, we had worked. I think Osaka was probably the first location that we had worked with structural glass, and worked with an engineer in the UK that was able to use glass in a structural way. And so the cube was starting to represent a technology, a way of building that no one else had ever really used in that way. And what's interesting about the cube is, you know, a few months before it was set to open, we found that we could get large single sheets of glass from this annealing oven in Japan, but it would have delayed the opening. And so the decision was made by the team to not delay the opening. And what it meant was the first cube had 3 panels of glass vertically on the building. That was Steve, because he knew technically better. And before he passed away, a few years before he passed away, went in and ordered all the new single sheets of glass and rebuilt the entire cube. I don't know if you know it's been rebuilt, but rebuilt it out with the single sheets of glass, just because he knew that was a more pure expression of the idea.
Wow.
So that, you know, there's a $15 million price tag or something like that associated with that. But you know, I think it you know, it speaks to kind of the you know, he wanted this to be his legacy, and knowing that it could be better was something that always was there. So you know, when he decided that look, this is, you know, he was going to be dying, he knew that making this was to be a more pure expression of that concept. So,
Yeah, another one. Trivia question. How long did it take for Ernest Koo to agree to your design concept?
How long? Let's see. I think we started here about a year ago. Is that right? I kind of lost track. Is that about right? And you know, Ernest has actually been, you know, actively involved in the review process. I mean, as I said, I met him initially, and you know, we talked a lot about what was needed for the business and the idea behind it. And I think he's just been an active participant. So he's owned it all along with the team. So when we got to points of approval, things, I think he's been engaged to the point where he feels like it's as much his as it is anyone else's.
Okay. Are Globe stores going to be size? And what would be your average size for the new store?
Well,
I don't know. You want to share?
well, Mike, it actually depends. We already have existing spaces for our stores, so we will be sticking to those spaces, with the exception of the first 2 that we are opening. The first 2 iconic stores opening in December will be relatively bigger. Like for example, in SM North EDSA, we are at about almost at 400 square meters, if I'm not mistaken. So there, but the existing size of the Globe store will most probably, with the rest of the Globe stores, will most probably remain the same, but will be changing in terms of the design. Most of the stores by next year will be adopting the Gen 3 design.
Another question. I think they're going to want to know where you will be on December 15th. Will you be here in Manila or in CBO? Yeah, because I think that's where they're going.
Is that right? Yeah, it's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that, so maybe we'll have to stay tuned. And you guys
we'll know soon.
You guys can tell me what you think makes sense. But yeah, we're excited.
They're going to start booking their flights to CBO should you be there. All right. Any other last questions before we close? Yes? No? Okay. That's it. Yeah, we have
no more?
full house, yeah. Again, The whole session will be on YouTube probably in an hour. It'll be available for everyone to watch and
Okay, cool.
also will be promoted via our official Enjoy Globe and 8 Inks channels also. Again, December 15
Is
for
the big day for Gen 3, so we hope to see you guys there, and Tim will definitely be joining us that day.
Absolutely.
We're also available tomorrow. We have Wonderful World with Globe. That will be in SM Aura. Tim will also be there.
We'll be there as
As a special guest.
Alright.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Tim.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Having us.
Bye.